Hey, what is happening, everybody? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and today I want to discuss the future for Metroid Prime 4 and what I think it could represent for the franchise of Metroid. Now, over the past couple of weekends, I've been having some of my normal live streams. I usually try to do a live stream on Sunday or Monday, which are also my days off of work from my job. And during these last few live streams, this concept has come up a little bit with the questions and conversations I've been having with you guys about Metroid and the potential future. And I really liked kind of studying this idea briefly on those live streams with you guys about how Metroid Prime 4 could represent a huge shift in a positive way for the franchise. Of course, I am trying to cross 15,000 subscribers on Rule of Two Review before the year is over. We've got just under 2 months to go. I'm only a couple of hundred away. I don't quite think I'm gonna hit that goal, but that's okay because I also took most of October off. But I'm back full force making several videos a week, so as you watch this video, if you like what I'm doing, then maybe consider subscribing to the channel. So, Metroid Prime 4, the great white buffalo of video games, man. This is the game that we have been waiting for 3 years, 3.5 years, really. Since that game, almost 3.5 years, I should say, since it was revealed in June of 2017, just a couple of months after the console launched. And we all know, man, you guys have been following me for a while. You know what's happening here. It's been a tough journey. It's been torture. I feel like Nintendo has been torturing us with this title since it was revealed because we went a year and a half without even seeing anything about it once they told us it was being made. We had no updates. We expected updates at the 2018 Game Awards. We got nothing. And then 1 month later, of course, came the infamous delay in January of 2019. Where they told us about, you know, hey, this game hasn't been turning out the way we wanted to. It wasn't going to be a quality product or worth releasing to you guys. And so the team that was working on it is no more. You know, we have rumors about who that might have been, Bandai Namco or some other third-party developer. But they're gone. We're giving it back to Retro Studios, who made the first 3 games, and we are restarting development. Here, January 2019, we're going to make a whole brand new Metroid Prime 4. It's obviously going to take some extra time, but it's going to be worth it, and we'll talk to you about it sometime soon. And now, here we are, almost 2 years later, and they haven't talked to us about it yet. Not one time since. The only thing Metroid-related we've gotten from Nintendo since then is literally just that tease of Samus's helmet in the Paper Mario trailer and video game, where you can wear a helmet that's in the shape of Samus's helmet. That's the only thing Nintendo has officially done about Metroid since restarting the game in 2019. Now here's the thing, you guys. As depressing as that news is, there's also some really great news when it comes to Metroid. And that's the fact that the game is simply being made. Okay, I'm someone with my fanship and love of Metroid and Samus and the whole thing. I'm somebody who mostly sees the positive here. It sucks that it was delayed, it's depressing we're waiting and that they're being so insanely silent. But at the same time, I am over the moon over the fact that Metroid Prime 4 is still being made at all. Like, it's eventually going to be completed and it's going to come out. We can joke about, oh, it's going to take 23 years, we're not going to see it until 2058, you know? Some of us are going to be dead by the time it releases. Like, yeah, we can crack those jokes, and they're fun. They're funny. Like, I crack those jokes too. But it's hyperbole. Like, the game will be completed, you guys. So everyone, all you guys, my fellow Metroid fans, we can calm down and relax, okay? Yes, we're waiting, but it's going to be made eventually. And I see that as a major win and a huge positive for Nintendo. And it's a huge positive for the franchise, which, of course, several minutes in here, is the real focus of this video. And why I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to represent a huge, mammoth, positive shift for the franchise. So in order to explain why I feel this way and what I mean, we have to go over some things that a lot of us already know about Metroid, and I've brought up in several different videos making these points in the past. And it's the fact that right now, here in 2020, we're in a very weird time for Metroid. The franchise finds itself in a very strange place, because it's been 13 years since the last Prime game, and it's been 10 years since the last mainline entry in the franchise, which is Metroid Other M. And of course, we all know the deal with Metroid Other M, right? I'm someone who really likes the game. I think it's very, very good and way better than people say, but overall, the general reception wasn't that great, and I think the game only barely managed to crack 1 million units sold. on the Nintendo Wii of all consoles, which had over 100 million units sold, and Metroid, you know, this main brand new Metroid title comes out and barely sells 1 million units. And the fact that it wasn't very well received by the Metroid fan community or just the gaming community means it unfortunately represents a bit of a dark spot on the Metroid name. Then it took until 2015, 5 years later, for Nintendo to even announce a new Metroid game. We were all waiting for some Metroid title to release on the Wii U, and what we got was the Nintendo 3DS Metroid Prime Federation Force, which also was not great. Not exciting, not the game we wanted, portable system only, not focused on Samus. It's a multiplayer-focused game. It just was everything Metroid fans did not want at that time, because we had been waiting for a real Metroid title, and were shocked that Nintendo had done nothing with Metroid on the Wii U. And honestly, they never did anything with Metroid on the Wii U. Nintendo Land doesn't count. I don't care what anyone says. And so Metroid Prime Federation Force comes out in 2016, and it's another game that I honestly think, on its own merits, is actually a very good, very fun game, but it's not the Metroid game we wanted. It's barely even a Metroid game. They just call it Metroid in the title, and then, spoiler alert, Samus plays a cameo at the very end of the game, and it's really weird and it's kind of dumb. And there's some Easter eggs at the end, and it's neat, but it's not a Metroid game, okay? You can't convince me it's a Metroid game, and I don't even hate the game, okay? I'm on the side of the game, but I won't say that it's really a Metroid game because it's just not. And so from 2010 all the way to 2017, a 7-year time span, we had a lot of not great stuff happening for Metroid. We had huge gaps in time between releases, and we had 2 games that were very polarizing and not well received. So you could say Metroid was in a really dark place. But as we know, 2017 comes along and gives us both the announcement and confirmation of Metroid Prime 4, and a brand new Metroid game, Samus Returns, on the 3DS, which released in 2017 and was absolutely freaking spectacular. An amazing game, a great return to form for the franchise. It is 3DS only, and that part was unfortunate, but I still think it was an absolutely fantastic game, so I don't care. And it was the Metroid game that we wanted. So Metroid has been kind of on that upswing since then, but then took another major dip with the delay of Prime 4 in 2019. So with that quick sort of summary of the timeline of Metroid over the past 13 years, that kind of just went like this, you know, until we end on a downward slope because of the delay of the game, it shows that Metroid, like I said at the beginning here, is just in a weird place. Metroid Prime 4, I think, is going to be the game that can change all of these negative perceptions about the franchise. The negative perception about the quality of the last couple of games they've made, and the negative perception about the game's ability to sell, or the franchise's ability to sell, I should say. Because, you know, Metroid Prime and Super Metroid are the only Metroid games that have sold over 2 million units. The average game sales for the franchise is not super high, even though it's a franchise everyone loves, and they say it's one of the best ever, and it's got this rabid fan base, myself included. It doesn't sell to the likes of Nintendo's other franchises. And it's very strange, and it's very depressing. But one of the main reasons I think Metroid Prime 4 could represent this huge positive shift for the franchise and kind of start to move Metroid into the higher tier of Nintendo franchises is, one, because I think the game is going to be great, right? So just base level, you make a good game, you're already starting off on the right foot. You have a better chance of people liking it and people buying it, because I just think it's going to be a great damned game. The other thing is what I call the Switch effect, or at least the effect of this era of Nintendo. The Switch era, the amazing rebound the company has made coming from the Wii U era to the Switch era, where they're doing, from a business sense, almost everything right. They're making some mistakes and they're stubbing their toe on things that are making some of the gamers frustrated and annoyed, sure, but when you look at it monetarily and sales-wise, they're doing everything right. In fact, I'm recording this the morning, just hours after new sales update information has come out, and it's amazing. Again, the Switch is almost at 70 million units. Its best-selling games are at 25, 30 million units sold almost for Mario Kart 8. Like, it's crazy, and there's so many other titles that are selling that well. So we're seeing in this era, on the Nintendo Switch console, and in a smarter era for the company business-wise, we're seeing that they can do anything when it comes to sales. And I think that hype and interest in Nintendo is stronger than it's been in over a decade. And I also think that people's willingness to buy stuff from Nintendo is stronger than it's been in over a decade, evidenced by these crazy sales. And I think that what we've seen is on the Nintendo Switch, any title that Nintendo makes that goes onto this title and that they promote with their crazy good marketing is gonna sell like crazy. And I think that Nintendo is showing us with their willingness to delay the game and spend all the money on the first version and then scrap it to spend even more money on the second version, that they want this game to succeed and they want the franchise to succeed. Nintendo, in my opinion, as a Metroid superfan, I think that what they're showing us, even though they've been quiet, is that they're gonna make this game a massive hit. They are doing everything they can, spare no expense, as I like to say. Metroid Prime 4 is gonna kick some ass. Now, while I think this game is probably coming out at 2022 at the earliest, I still think we're getting probably a Switch release, and I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of that in a second, but we're probably getting this game released on the Switch in some capacity, and so the Switch effect comes into play, okay? The Switch making any title sell means Metroid is going to come out and just be a massive release. Everyone is going to be paying attention to it. Nintendo is going to be marketing the hell out of it. It's going to release on a console that has 70, 75, 80 million units sold in the marketplace. There is such a wide net cast for people to buy this game because of the Nintendo Switch specifically, that it's absolutely going to be a hit, in my opinion, based on that merit alone. Of course, the other big thing is the possibility of next gen, which I've been saying for over a year, that I think that the next generation Nintendo console, not a Switch Pro, but a next gen machine, is around the corner, 2022 at the earliest as well. I'm thinking 2022 or 2023. Those are my two target years for a next-gen Nintendo console, which is the exact same window I'm personally targeting for Metroid Prime 4. These are all just my guesses, okay, so I could be wrong, but I'm going to go on the assumption that my guesses are right for the sake of this video, and say that you have Metroid Prime 4 and a next-gen Nintendo console very likely releasing around the same time. So I also think that there's a huge chance Metroid Prime 4 gets a huge injection of hype and interest because I think it's going to be launching the next Nintendo console. And whether that means it's cross-generation like Breath of the Wild, so that it's coming to the Switch and it's 80 million units and the next-gen console, or if something crazy happens and maybe they make it only next generation, I also still think that that's going to help the title, and I think that that's going to help it sell well. I don't expect that. My number one prediction is cross-gen, so you get the huge Switch install base and the hype from the next-gen. And because of that, that is so much working in this game's favor, you guys. I cannot envision a world, and I challenge you to tell me how you could see this, any world where this game doesn't sell like crazy and at the bare minimum becomes the best selling Metroid game of all time. And so, if we pretend that all my crazy, wonderful, wacky, wild predictions here come true, okay, if we, for the sake of argument in this video, just assume everything I'm saying turns out to be true, and it launches cross-gen, and it sells like crazy because of the Switch, and it sells like crazy because of hype for the next-gen version, then suddenly, I think we're in a different era of Metroid. Because people, new and old to the franchise, will be paying attention to Metroid like they never have before. And the new players is the huge factor here, right? Because we know that 1 million to 2 million units of sales for Metroid Prime 4 are going to be from like the hardcore Metroid fan base that have been paying attention to this game and waiting for it for a long time. But I think all the other sales to the tunes of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 million, however high it might go, per my theory, that's going to be new players. That's going to be people that either never have played Metroid or maybe are coming back to it after decades of not caring. Because the Switch has also brought back old, disenfranchised Nintendo fans. That's another huge thing that works in the favor of every game that releases on the console, and now Metroid included. And so a lot of people might be too young to have ever played Metroid before, or played Metroid on the NES when they were a kid, then they left Nintendo to play on Xbox and PlayStation, but maybe have come back recently, and so a new Metroid game comes along, they're going to be like, hell yeah, let me get this kick-ass new sci-fi shooter Metroid game on my Nintendo Switch, or my next-gen Nintendo console. It all shows me that this game is going to do crazy, and once that happens, And people are paying attention to Metroid and Samus again, and Nintendo hopefully will be doing good things with Metroid and Samus and really putting it out there, saying, this is why we believe in this franchise. It's a great franchise. It's just as good as our Mario games and our Zelda games and our Smash Brothers games and our Pokemon games. Like, look at Metroid, it's amazing. And so what I'll say here at the end of the video, my last big point here and my last big prediction on what I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to do for the franchise, to me, is exactly what we saw Fire Emblem Awakening do for Fire Emblem and that franchise. And this is something that came up on one of my live streams, I want to say 2 or 3 weekends ago. And it's the idea that, you know, Fire Emblem was a successful but a very niche franchise, especially in the West, okay? It really, no one cared about it. It never made a splash. The games never sold that well. People only cared about it vicariously through the characters that are in Smash Brothers. No one actually really cared about the franchise, and that includes myself. But then comes Fire Emblem Awakening, and even if you're a die-hard Fire Emblem fan that thinks Awakening destroyed the franchise, that's fine for you to have that opinion, but you gotta look at the big picture, because big picture, it changed Fire Emblem for the better, especially in terms of sales. More people enjoy the game, more people are playing the game, more people care about the game, and more people are buying it. Every Fire Emblem game since Awakening has sold like crazy. Even the stupid mobile game on mobile phones has done extremely well, because Fire Emblem Awakening became a polar shift for the franchise in terms of, in some ways, how the games were made, but also just the impact it made, and launching on the 3DS with so many sales available to it, so many new people realized, oh my god, this Fire Emblem series is awesome, and suddenly Fire Emblem has become a top-tier franchise for Nintendo. Just look at the representation in Smash Brothers. Look at the recent announcements about the old Famicom game coming over to North America, and the fact that people are crazy excited and interested in it. That never would have happened in a pre-Fire Emblem Awakening world. It wouldn't have. I don't care if you hate Awakening, because that's not the point. The point is more people started playing and buying the franchise after that game. It cannot be denied. I don't care what your opinion of the game is. It's not relevant, because now the franchise is more popular and successful than ever. And so I personally believe, here at the end of this 20-minute video, I'm going to tell you my personal belief is Metroid Prime 4 is going to be the Fire Emblem Awakening for this franchise. And I'm going to tell you, no matter how much you agree or disagree with that theory, I think it's great news. I think it's going to be a good thing. I can't wait for my favorite franchise to hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, this is all prediction, I'm guessing here, to hopefully finally get the recognition and the success that it deserves. It's my favorite for a reason, because I believe in it. I love this franchise. I love this character. I love the story and the journeys we've been going on with Samus throughout the decades. I'm old enough that I was playing the original Metroid on the NES when I was a young kid, okay? So I've been with Samus since the beginning. I didn't become a major fan until Metroid Prime. That's the game that made me realize how much it was my favorite franchise ever, but I still followed it on Metroid, Metroid 2, Super Metroid, until Metroid Prime. And I just really think that the future is going to be bright for the franchise after Metroid Prime 4. I think this game is going to do wonderful things for the franchise, and I honestly just can't wait. So this is my conversation, my discussion, my theories, my predictions, my guessing, all this stuff I'm barfing out to you guys about Metroid because I love it so much. And I want to know what you think, man. Does my theory and predictions and the ideas I laid out here today make sense to you, or do you think the polar opposite? Whatever you think, talk about it below. And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.